and gentlemen, the captain has turned off the fasten seatbelt sign indicating that it is safe to move out the cabin. For your own safety though, we request that you keep your seatbelt fastened when you're in your seat during this short flight. We'll start our in-flight beverage service shortly.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, everyone, and we're off to another little adventure. Doug's off this week, but Lonnie has returned to the fold again, so happy to have him.
Good
evening. And as always, our special guest, Mr. Kesteloo from Drone XL. Always nice to see him.
Welcome.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Good.
Thank you.
And tonight we're going to be talking about, no big surprise, the Mavic Air 2. So far, what I've seen of it, it looks very, very promising. A few little downsides that I've noticed, but nothing that I don't consider to be a real deal breaker. Haya has been lucky enough that he was flying this thing for a few weeks now. And I'm sure he's going to bring us some really good insights on this. And Lonnie is going to be our man with the facts tonight for some of the information, and both Haya and I will throw in our little 2 bits here and there. So,
Got my cheat sheet.
Cheat sheet. So, Haya, how did you like flying this drone? What's your just your brief impression on it?
I think it's very impressive. I mean, for a drone that's well below $1,000, to be able to fly the way it does and to be as capable, I think it's a really good deal. And I think DJI pretty much nailed it with this one. I mean, it won't do everything for everybody. I'm sure that if you're a more demanding pilot or maybe a commercial pilot, you'll find plenty of things that aren't good enough or that you wish it had. But if you think that, let's say if you don't have a drone yet, but you want to get into flying drones and you want a good place to start, and let's say you have somewhat of a budget to work with, then it's hard to imagine that you would be able to go wrong with the DJI Mavic Air 2. I think it's a very well-rounded package, really.
Yeah, it's funny because I've had a lot of people say, it's like, well, it's not as good as a Mavic 2 Pro. And I said, well, it's not meant to be,
Yeah.
It's like if you buy a brand of car, you can buy different levels of models. And like, so you've got the Mavic Mini and then you've got the Mavic 2 Pro. And this is kind of the one in the middle,
Sure.
If you haven't got the budget to buy a Mavic 2 and the Mini's just not doing it for you, well, this kind of bridges that nice gap.
It fits right in the middle, but it's almost scary how good it is, though, because I think you really need to either want 360-degree obstacle avoidance, or you have to be into like low light photography in order to justify spending that additional money for a Mavic 2 Pro. Because otherwise, all the other stuff, this drone is pretty much as capable. And I haven't really had a chance yet to compare the 4K video footage, but I suspect that this drone may actually do better than the Mavic 2 Pro in that regard.
You think so?
I think it's either really, really close, or it might be better even. I mean, not when you get into low light conditions, because a bigger sensor obviously is always going to do better in that respect. But the sharpness and the contrast of the footage from the Mavic 2 Pro wasn't always as great. I mean, if you compare it to a Phantom 4 Pro, the Phantom is clearly better. And I think this drone, for at least for the money, delivers in that aspect.
Well, that, and I found that like what really handcuffed the Mavic 2 Pro was that they put a real poor processor in that. And they really honestly did not get the full advantage of having that 1-inch sensor, And again, as you said, the low light is going to hurt that one, because like you've got an 8-micron sensor on there, and the bigger the better. So
yeah, for sure. One good indication might be, though, that the DJI Mavic Mini, I saw one that was in for repair where they opened it, and that had an Umbrella processor on board as well. So maybe DJI went back to Umbrella, and if that's true, maybe the Mavic Air 2 has one, and maybe the Mavic 3 eventually will have one as well. And if that's the case, then I would have high hopes for the performance of that drone as well.
Well, my info is that this one has it as well.
Yeah.
and that's part of the reason why on one of your quick shots there, you've got the 8K hyperlapse.
Yep.
Was because it does now have enough processing power. So,
yeah.
So Lonnie, what about some of the specs off the top of your head?
Well, I mean, definitely the extended fly time is a big thing for anybody that owns a Air right now. Like, I think that's quite substantial. And then, of course, the upgrade in the OcuSync. I'm not really familiar with the OcuSync, but what I've seen on it and what I've read about it, like that's going to be a pretty big deal as well.
Yeah.
So you've worked with him a little bit, Lauren and Haya. You both, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first flew with the DJI Mavic 2 Pro, and I realized how much more consistent and how much better the connection was with the drone itself. So you get used to that very quickly, but with the DJI Mavic Air 2, it's at least as good, if not better. I mean, I've been able to fly it. I've had pretty much zero interference whatsoever. The few times I did, I was kind of pushing it, so I was asking for trouble, if you will. But it's been doing really, really great, to the point where I think if you fly responsibly and safely and within the rules and regulations, there's no way that connection is going to be an issue. I mean, you'd have to be in a parking garage or like somewhere downtown to get into trouble. But if you're in an open space, this drone does tremendously well in that sense.
Nice.
Yeah.
And, I think DJI really listened to people too, because the main gripes with the original Mavic Air, they killed them, We talked a while ago, and new motors, new ESCs, new props, new batteries. The just killed so many birds with one stone there. We got this incredible amount of flight time, the 34 minutes. Not only that, but we got better power management with the new motors and new ESCs, so that helps. And the new prop design. Again, one of the big complaints about the Mavic Air was the noise.
Yeah.
And is it quieter? It is to an extent, but the key thing is they changed the frequency.
Yeah, and that's a big difference, I think, because the Mavic Air had this whiny pitch to it, and I think it was kind of unpleasant for a lot of people. Whereas this one, if you notice anything, it's because it's quieter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just saying hi to somebody. Here we are. No, actually, I like everything, but probably the biggest thing that I don't like is I think they tried to put too many features in it. As we kind of discussed pre-show on one of the nice following modes, they shouldn't have put that parallel one in without having the side sensors. To me, it's going to cause some problems,
Yeah, that might give people the false impression that you're safe and good to do it, and then you find out that 1 tree you didn't see, and
or
there. No, that's tricky. And also, what I noticed is that you have the 48 megapixel photo option. And basically what it does is it cuts the pixels in half. So you get 4 times the pixels in one original pixel, but it's it performs a lot less well on low light performance. And so in one case, what I tried to do was take a few of those 48 megapixel shots at different aperture settings to be able to combine them later in an HDR photo. But it takes probably about 2 seconds for each picture to process, for each photo to process. And then when you lay them on top of each other, the trees have moved a little bit, the drone has drifted a little bit, so it's impossible to kind of get it directly on top of each other. If you use the automated option, I think then then it shoots 12 megapixel files much faster, but then you don't get the resolution that you had with the 48 megapixel files. So there are some compromises for sure.
Yeah. And like with that IMX 586 sensor that they're using, that's a quad layer chip, and again that helps with your 48 megapixel. But realistically, like I say, it's a sensor size, that 8 micron sensor on there. Yeah, it definitely doesn't help the low light. So
no, but then again, I mean, if the lighting conditions are fine and you take a picture and you keep the DNG file, there's quite a bit of leeway in that file, so you can manipulate it quite a bit. So I think DJI kind of tried to max out the performance of the drone in different ways, and this is obviously one of them. It's a bit gimmicky, but then again, it can also be quite useful if the conditions are right. So
to be honest, I think what they were doing was just poking a stick in the eye at the hotel.
Yeah.
You know, because, hey, we can put out 48 megapixel too on a drone that's half the size and 2/3 the cost, you know.
You're probably right.
Doug's got a question for you there, Haya.
Yep.
Bring it on.
He just want to know, how's it handling the wind coming off the Hudson?
Really well. So I had 3 videos up on YouTube, and I was contacted by DJI to take them down again. One of those videos shows how it handles the wind on the Hudson River. I think the shape of a DJI Mavic, whether it's the Pro or the Zoom or this one, it does and handles really well in high wind conditions. I mean, there was at least 15 to 20 miles of wind, gusting to 25 miles. There were friends of me actually out there kiteboarding and windsurfing. The drone does really well. I mean, I was flying it into the wind on a slight angle, so the drone gets kind of pushed sideways a little bit, and you can see that the gimbal can, for a big part, can compensate, but at some point it kind of runs out of space to do so. So yeah, you would have to correct the horizon a little bit, but at the same time, it's not shaky footage. The drone handles well. I was able to fly onto the Hudson River and back, and the only downside really is that you're not going to get the 34 minutes of flight time because the drone is working so hard. So you're probably done after 20, 25 minutes, but the drone flies and it has no problem dealing with all the wind. So I was really impressed.
Yep.
That's good.
Yeah. I think, well, the thing is, you kind of get spoiled with these drones, right? I mean, once you fly drones that do so well, you start to think, okay, this is normal, and it raises the bar, and then that's what you want in the next drone. And I think, especially with the DJI Mavic Air 2, at that price point, we are getting spoiled because that drone does quite a bit for the money.
Well, not only that, but I've a question for the longest time. Where will it end? You know, like. Just how far can we go with drones? You know, like I'm just waiting for me to get up in the morning and I go downstairs and my breakfast is made, you know.
I better hurry up.
Could happen. So what's our next stat there, Lottie?
Well, let's see what else we got here. Well, I have no idea. I read all this stuff. We pretty much covered the whole darn thing already. The camera sensor, the battery, the fly time.
Yeah, OcuSync.
Yeah, the OcuSync. We've kind of pretty much covered the whole thing.
Well, for those that haven't watched anything or dug in a little bit deeper, to me, one of the most impressive things are their not necessarily the quick shots, but their tracking features. For something that doesn't have side sensors, it does just an amazing job. And with the Active Track 3, one thing that's kind of new to that we didn't previously see in any of the DJI drones is normally Active Track, it remains at a certain altitude. Whereas now with the Active Track 3, altitude changes, it does it, you know, which is really cool thing. At least I think so. And
so the drone would stay at that elevation?
On the Active Track 2, yes. But on Active Track 3, I think maybe it was even the highest video, but kind of goes down under the tree, wasn't it?
I flew the original DJI Mavic Air, and here in a park close by, I was biking down a hill, and the drone would track me and follow me, but maintain its elevation, so it wouldn't follow me as I went down that hill. With the DJI Mavic Air 2, it actually does, so it kind of keeps the same distance, but it followed me all the way down to the bottom of that hill. What I did notice, though, is that as I sped up on my bicycle and then slowed down again, the drone is sometimes a little jerky in trying to figure out how it needs to match your speed. So when I slow down abruptly, it kind of catches up with me, and then if I speed up again, there's a little bit of a delay before it understands what's happening. But if your movements are consistent, then the drone, I think, does a really great job.
Nice.
Myself, I'm not a big fan of the Skydio video. You know, it does a great job on autonomy, but they always seem to be hunting, you know. And if you look at the video, forward, back, you know, and moving around so much, if they could smooth that out, you know, to me, that would be just a drastic improvement. And that's where I found that, like even with the Air 2, I got to get used to saying Air 2. But even with the Air 2, it just beats it hands down for being a lot more stable and not hunting. You know, to me that would be the right term, because it's hunting. You know.
Yeah, I think that with Skydio they should be able perhaps to fix it with the software or firmware updates. Yeah. It's the jerkiness of the movement. It's almost like with control sticks. You can calibrate them and change the settings to prevent that. So you would hope that they can do the same thing with the gimbal and the camera.
I'm overall, I'm pretty impressed. I've got one coming, so I've got a couple of drones coming right now. So and tomorrow will be my last day with consulting where I was, and now I get to spend some time actually enjoying them instead of not. You know, we got
trying.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Hai has been stuck with some bad weather, and he hasn't been able to get out and do any. So, or not as much as you want, right?
No, not as much. No, there's a couple of things. I mean, first of all, DJI sent me a European model, so it doesn't have the AirSense technology on board, so you can't notice or be notified when there are any airplanes nearby, which is too bad, because I really would have liked to see that work. And the other thing is they only gave me one battery, which if you want to review and you don't have that much time, it kind of sucks to only have one battery, because every time you do something, you got to go back, charge it, and then in a couple of hours you can go out again. So it makes it a lot less effective. But still, I'm happy to be flying this drone and trying it out. But yeah, it'd be nice if they shipped it with 3 batteries to all the reviewers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And maybe, by the way, one thing we didn't talk about much is the controller itself. That's quite
what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and you're about 3 hours on that? You figure? On a charge? 3 hours on a charge on that?
Oh, 3 hours on the charge. Yeah, that's probably about right. I mean, this lasts quite a while, so you don't have to charge this every time, obviously, when you need to come back in to charge the drone. I have charged this only twice, I believe. So yeah, it's probably about 3 hours, and it lasts quite a while. I was curious to see how this would work, this part where you put your phone in. And I think a lot of people had concerns whether the phone would actually stay put. That mechanism works really well. It grips really firmly, so it's a much better grip than what we're used to with the old Mavic controllers. Also, I think having the screen above your controls is a lot more natural and more intuitive. So that's something that's easy to get used to. They found a way to snug this wire inside, so you kind of curl it around, and when you then close it, the wire is all the way stuck in the controller. There we are. So you don't have the dangling loose bits like you used to have. The sticks themselves come off, and you can store those in here. So that's nice as well.
So yeah, on the bottom.
Sorry?
You got the charging port on the bottom.
Charging port right here. Yeah. You don't have the buttons on the bottom of the controller, so you only have the scroll wheel, the shutter, and the scroll wheel on this side. Getting confused here. I don't know what they're going to do with the Mavic 3 because the Mavic controllers always had that screen built in. So maybe the Mavic controller might have a screen as well. I don't know. It seems like they're moving to the new DJI Fly app and ditching the Go 4 Pro app. So they might also just use the same controller as they have here because there's really not much wrong with this one. And I think if you have a decent sized phone, then that screen should probably be sufficient for most purposes as well.
I think what's going to disappoint a lot of people is the fact that that controller won't accommodate a iPad.
Or the Crystal Sky.
I've seen pictures where people are able to make it work with an iPad as well.
How?
I have one laying around here. Basically, what you do is you have I don't know what brand I have anymore, but anyway, it's like a metal piece and it resembles the phone. So the metal part still goes in here. You put it in here, and then your iPad hovers right over there, higher up than your phone would.
No, but that's aftermarket, right?
Yeah, that's an aftermarket part. Yes, you're not going to be able to fit. And I mean, this is as far as it goes. So maybe an iPad Mini. I don't have one, so I haven't tested that.
Yeah,
but you won't be able to fit an iPad just in this controller itself. So you'd have to buy an aftermarket part.
Yeah, because that's what I meant. Yeah.
Okay.
I said the aftermarket guys will be all over that, in a heartbeat and make sure that it's usable for people that want to use tablets. So, but
it's nice to have a larger screen for sure. I mean, a tablet is way more practical in that sense than working off a smartphone.
Yeah, because to me that was, as I said, that was one of the downfalls of that controller, at least. So,
but I think overall, I mean, it's more bulky and it's heavier than the DJI Mavic controllers that we're used to. Mm-hmm. But I would still prefer this.
Well, the next firmware update, the drone will be compatible with the smart controller.
Yep, I've heard that.
Yeah. So I think it's very possible that the Mavic 3 will come with a smart controller. That
would be smart.
My thoughts. That's kind of my thoughts. I don't know, but got another question for you, Haya, from Telescott. He wanted, what did you think about the Fly app compared to the Go app?
Good question. When I first used the Fly app, it felt gimmicky and almost toy-like because you're missing all the places where you find functionality that you were used to. However, now that I've flown more with it, and when I then go back to using the DJI Go 4 app, it's definitely more cluttered. So I think there's a happy medium. I mean, we're missing some of the features, but that's also dependent on the drone that you're using. I mean, I would imagine if the DJI Fly app is used with the Mavic 3 Pro, we'll probably get a lot of those features back into that app. I mean, the app is less cluttered, it's better designed, but if you're used to the DJI Go 4 app, you're going to miss some of the features for sure.
Yeah.
One thing Lauren's aware of, like I find on the iPads and stuff when you're out in the sunlight, it's really hard to see them. So I purchased a Crystal Sky, but it doesn't work with the Fly app.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Is the Fly app, is that not 64 bits versus 32 software? Is that the difference, or?
Yeah.
I think it's a different architecture for the Fly app, and
it is.
They're moving away from the DJI Go 4 app, so that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't surprise me if the DJI Mavic 3 will not have the DJI Go 4 app.
Yeah.
Because
the recent update on the smart controller.
Yeah.
There was that just come out a week ago, roughly. Has got the Fly app on it.
It does.
Yes.
All right. Well,
so like I say, I know they're moving towards it, and I know they're moving away from the Go 4 app because too much overhead on that and causes too much lag time. So they want to try and keep it simple. So
well, if they bring all the features back and they package it in a more user-friendly, more intuitive, and less cluttered design, then I think it's a good move.
Yeah.
Can you? No, unfortunately, you can't, Marcus. You can't sideload the Fly app on the Crystal Sky. because it requires minimum operating system of 6.0, and the Crystal Sky is only on 5.5 or 5.1, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So no, you can't sideload it.
It doesn't sound like they're going to be upgrading that anytime soon, if at all.
One thing
Which is unfortunate because that Crystal Sky is awesome.
Nice.
one thing I did notice too, like with the Fly app and the Air 2, to get into your tracking modes and stuff, you're not hunting through menus or anything like that. You can just draw something on the screen and it automatically goes right to your tracking modes. And to me, that's a lot smarter way of doing it.
Yeah.
Have you played around with the just the camera tracking where you just use your finger on the screen? Hi.
No, I have not.
Okay.
And I also haven't tried out where you lock the camera on a subject and then be able to fly the drone in different directions, whereas the camera still focuses on that person. I haven't tried that either.
Yeah.
Those are all on my list of things to do as soon as the sun comes out.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you're finished playing with it yet.
No, I'm not. No, and like I said, I mean, it's funny because you fly, you try things out, you come back, you talk with other people, you get more questions like, hey, did you try this? Did you try that? Can you get me a picture that's, I don't know, shows the 48 megapixels compared to the 12 in DNG files? You're like, all right, I'll write that down. So that's for your next flight. And you kind of keep going back and forth. But like I said, with having only one battery, it's kind of shitty. Down.
It's funny because I'll do some pictures or some video or stuff like that. And on the way home, I'm going, I should have done this or I should have done that. It's
that's the best of us, right?
Yeah. Hindsight's always 20/20. I'll tell you.
I mean, compared to the old Air, I think that had flight time of 21 minutes or something. So to 34,
16 or 15 out of it.
So moving up to 34 minutes is a huge improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But again, it's like once you get used to that, you raise the bar, and now that's what you want and that's what you expect. So
yeah.
So I'm really have to say this, Haya, from the bottom of my heart. Drone DJ reporting has really gone downhill.
Sorry.
It was so funny. I watched their video review of the Mini or the Air 2, and have you watched that or not?
I've watched like 3 minutes, and then
it was hurtful to even watch, wasn't it? I don't want to knock Drone DJ, but that was like you shouldn't have posted that. I wasn't ready for prime time, so.
I think it was too much. How do you say that? Like improvised, I guess, perhaps. I don't know. I do know that Drone Excel is live, and you guys are more than welcome to come check out that site. And hopefully, what's up soon. And
that's what I was trying to segue into.
He beat you to it.
And the idea is to do more shows on Drone Excel as well. So to get guest speakers, maybe get you guys on an episode, and I don't know, just bring people in who fly drones for fun or for a living, and get their input and get their perspective. And I know a lot of other people are doing similar things, but that is definitely something I aspire to do with Drone Excel as well. Yeah.
I think you got something good happening there. It's going to take time to build it, of course, just like any new venture. It's going to take time, but once people realize where High has gone to, because like I say, I much prefer your reporting over what I'm seeing there now. So,
thank you so much. I mean, I appreciate it. It's good to hear. What we will be doing, though, is we're going to be giving a couple of things away. We're trying to set up a monthly giveaway program with a retailer and somebody else that we're going to be partnering with, and we'll be giving away drones, hopefully, if all works out. So we're trying to give you a good reason to come over and check out Drone Excel.
Free drones are always good.
Yeah, well, the first one might actually
be Doug.
This guy, so it's going to be worth it.
I got to ask though. These aren't drones that were previously crashed, are they?
No.
Yeah, I thought I'd ask.
Little duct tape, Crazy glue.
Nah.
Hey, we're just starting out, folks. Once we get established, we'll give away something new.
You got to start at the bottom, work your way up, right?
No, we want to do a little better than that, hopefully. So if all goes well, we'll be giving a Skydio away, probably starting tomorrow or on May 1st. That drone will be lightly used, but it's pretty much brand new. And after that, we're trying to give away a DJI Mavic Mini every month and maybe more. But that's still in the works. So don't pin me down yet.
Yeah, I give away Mavic Mini. What was it? About 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was about 2 months ago. Every once in a while, we'll have a group meeting and just as a door prize for trying to entice people to actually come, give away something, and that was we give away Mavic Mini. And next one, I'm not sure what I'm going to give away. Maybe another Mavic Mini, but you know, it's funny. You'd think after a while that the enthusiasm for the Mini would go down. The sales numbers have not even come close to slowing down.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But the Mavic Air 2, I mean, the Mavic Mini for how much you pay for the drone, that's a very capable drone as well. I mean, of course, you can say, oh, it doesn't have this and it doesn't have the other thing. But if you think about how much you spend and how good it actually performs, and also the benefit of being able to fly it in many more countries, there's definitely a value proposition for that drone.
Well, especially in Canada, because like the sub 250s, no license, no registration required, you know?
Yeah, they can pretty much fly it anywhere, anytime, anybody.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. So
I know somebody who flies commercially in Canada, and he works for a news organization. He told me that they have over a dozen Mavic Minis that they use because broadcast is only 1080 anyway, so they don't need 4K capability. But the fact that you can just toss a Mavic Mini in any backpack or whatever, even with 3 batteries, you got plenty of flight time. It's super small, and they use it all the time. He told me.
And for its size, it actually does amazing video, really. But you know, right out of the box, it does surprisingly well. And I've got some great nighttime video because I'm actually very surprised at how well it does at night.
Yeah,
you know, there's not a lot of noise in it or anything, so it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, on one hand, Jeff, a lot of people are like, oh, I want 6K, I want 8K, I need a bigger sensor, I need this, I need that. And they spend more money and they have higher demands all the time. At the same time, people share their videos on Facebook, they share their videos on YouTube, they're watching them on their phone. So it's great that you have 4K, but I mean, does it really matter? If you have decent quality 1080 video, that can look pretty darn good as well.
Well, not only that, to me, the only reason to go to 6K or 8K is future proofing because almost nobody can watch 6K or 8K anyways.
No, and then you have to process it, you have to store it.
Oh, and that's a pain. And that's a
pain. And I know a lot of people will say, oh, but it's nice to be able to crop in post so you can crop the image and still have a 4K video left at the end of the day. I think that's great, but I think for most people, it's probably not that important. I think it's more important to be able to get those nice shots and to be able to share them with friends and family quickly so that you can get, I don't know, share your family or your travel stories or whatever you're shooting. Yeah. But,
like myself, I don't really put a lot of stuff out there for public consumption. You know, it's like, a lot of the photos that I post that I do, you know, a lot of people say, oh, those are so nice, you should sell them. I said, well, you should see the good ones. You know, they said, what, these aren't the good ones? And I said, no, I don't post my good photos, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I think it's easy for people to fall on that trap, right? Because new cameras come out, new drones come out, and they get better and better and better. And you get convinced that you need all those specs. And for many people, maybe you do need them. But I think for a lot of people, it's also about just getting those shots, flying the drone, taking the drone with you, and then sharing it. And I think that's where the Mavic Mini does a great job, because that drone you can always bring with you. I mean, there's no excuse, basically. Whereas if you compare that to, let's say, a Phantom 4, which of course will get better video quality, try bringing that along in your backpack or throw that in the back of the car. Like, it's not the same. So
Whoops.
Stop laughing, Lauren.
Yeah, I went to a training with Paul from Drone U in Denver, Colorado once, and I had to bring a Phantom 4, so I had this backpack specifically designed to fit a Phantom 4, and I can throw in like a piece of underwear, 2 fresh socks, and that's it. It's like there's no space left for anything else.
Yeah.
So,
well, I had the Nanook case for that, and
yeah.
you know, it's absolutely huge.
Yeah.
And, that was probably my biggest reason for heading over to the Mavic series. But
yeah.
Oh, that's one thing I wanted to mention. Hi, have you flown any of the Enterprise drones?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
No, not even the DJI Mavic 2 Enterprise. I've seen them. We've been there when they introduced them at Airworks. What was it, back in 2018? I've never flown one. We never had a review model for that drone either. I mean, it's kind of the same as the normal Mavic, but I wasn't able to try out the strobe or the micro or the loudspeaker or any of that stuff. No.
No, I was just the reason I was mentioning that because earlier we were talking about AirSense and once people get that in their hands, you know, they're just going to absolutely love it because it's such a nice tool to have, you know.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, we've seen a few videos where helicopters came dangerously close to drones. I mean, one was in Florida where a guy's flying his drone over the beach, and as he hears the helicopter, he turns the drone to the left, and the helicopter flies right underneath the drone. And it comes up so quickly that there's hardly any time to react. And they were very fortunate that the drone didn't hit the helicopter. But if you would have had AirSense on that drone, that situation would not have happened probably.
Yeah, and like I was mentioning on Bill's show last night, you know, I've really enjoyed it because I do a lot of things like canyon flying, and when I'm talking canyon, I'm talking, you know, narrow canyon, not big, wide open and stuff like that. And some of those places there, you get the low flying helicopters that you don't see them until they're right there. And having that AirSense and having used that before on some of the Enterprise stuff, it's lovely thing.
But you kind of have to give it to DJI that, I mean, you get all that stuff in an $800 drone. I mean, it's impressive. I mean, we can mock them and say, well, hey, your low light performance is not as good as the Mavic 2 Pro or whatever. But at the same time, if you think about what you do get, I think it's pretty amazing.
Not only that, but if you look at the price of that compared to the original Mavic Air, wow, you know, what a huge difference. And as I've said previously, is make sure you buy the Fly More package because we individually priced out everything in that package.
Yeah.
If you to buy everything separate, it'd be $400 more than what your Fly More would cost you. 400 Canadian.
400. Wow.
400 Canadian, right?
Yeah. That's a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, especially when you batteries are $161 a piece Canadian, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got that filter set, you know. So
nice.
Yeah, and like well, just the 2 extra batteries, that's an extra $320 there.
Yeah, batteries are expensive. I mean, I don't know how expensive they are for DJI to make, but I know for us to buy them, it adds up. They're like gold bars.
Yeah, pretty much. They're worth their weight in gold. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Past our 30 minutes, but usually we do a 30-minute show high, and but sometimes we get carried away.
No worries.
So anyway,
educational.
So
I'd like to thank everybody for joining in tonight, especially Haya. It's always nice having you here, and hopefully we will see you again soon.
Yeah, anytime. I mean, I appreciate you having me on the show. It's always fun to be here. So if you need me on the show, just shoot me an email, and chances are I can make it.
Yeah. And as always, one of my cohorts, Lonnie. Unfortunately, Doug's not here tonight, and
he's watching.
Doug's in the chat.
He's in the chat.
Doug's in the chat.
How are you?
Anyway, in the meantime and in between time.
Thanks, Aya.